Hello everybody and welcome back to another video. A little bit of a different one today. So we've got a more FAQ style video rather than a breakdown. But I just wanted to jump on and talk a little bit about mitigations because I think that's what I'm currently getting questioned on the most right now. So we're going to go over how probability can be determined by where the mitigation happens, how to then determine how that probability differs, making sense of a mitigation, and then we've got a couple examples from today. So let's start with this little diagram here, okay? So what we can see is we have a break of structure to the downside, okay? We then need to mark out our OB. So we've got this clear, nice up candle. We've got the imbalance before the move down, and it causes a break of structure, right? So we know it's an OB. Now, in this scenario, okay, there's two places to make it as simple as possible where price can now react to. So this is our impulsive OB and this is our successful retrace that has just started, okay? So in a scenario where we get a mitigation between the open or between the 50%, that probability maintains itself, okay? We don't need to do anything, okay, from that base time frame alone. So here we are on the 5-minute. If we get a mitigation between the open and the 50% of that OB, we don't need to look at the lower time frame, okay? That is fine on the base itself, okay? It's maintained its own probability as being high, okay? This is only going to differ when we start to get past the 50%, okay? We come up into the extreme ranges and then we start to pull back and then we get that pullback, that break of structure and that successful retrace, okay? So in this scenario, we haven't got that high probability from the base time frame itself because we've gone past the open and we've gone past the 50%, okay? Why does this happen? I don't know. It's simply something that I've gathered from data from the months that I was testing and creating this model around Tanz's rules. So what can we do in this scenario? Okay, so we determined that we've got a setup, we've got the impulse and successful retrace, we've got order flow. However, we've determined that we've gone past the opening of the 50%, and we now need to make sense of this mitigation. Okay, so how do we do that? What we do is we draw a line from the mitigation point itself, the highest point, all the way to the left of the OB, and then we're going to have a look what happens and what was available there in that OB itself. So essentially what we want to see is an OB on the lower time frame. Okay, we need to make sense of why it needed to push through that open in that 50%, come higher and then push back down. Okay, so from this perspective alone, would that base time frame setup be valid? Yes, but are we maintaining a high probability? No. Okay, to maintain that high probability, we now need to look on the lower time frames and make sense of that mitigation, find a reason why it's gone to that exact point, okay? So we have an example from this morning of exactly this. So we have our impulsive OB to the upside, impulsive move, sorry. We have then our successful retrace starts via this pullback here. And what we can see is essentially price does exactly what I'm talking about, and it comes super deep back into that OB range, okay? So if we mark our OB range as this whole down candle here, what we can see is we hit the 50%, okay? This would have been a nice reaction. We then go to move away, however, price decides, okay, I'm not ready yet, I need to pull back further. We then get that further pullback past the 50 and the open, okay? We come deep into that second section, okay? We get that mitigation and then we get that move away. So just as I explained on the previous diagram, yes, this is valid. However, we are not because we have gone past that open and that 50%, okay? So what can we do at this point? We draw on our reaction zone. So our reaction was from obviously the lowest point all the way over to the left, okay? What we're then going to do is we're going to scroll down through the time frames and we're going to look for a completely clear and unmitigated OB, okay? So on this 30-second, is there anything there? No. Why is there not? Because our low was here. So nothing below here makes any sense for it to come to because our OB low was here, okay? If this was a reaction and we broke structure, perfect. However, it didn't. It came further down to this wick here, so it makes no sense. So we need to go to the next time frame. On this time frame, again, our low would have been at the exact same point, okay? So coming past that low and wicking past it then does not make sense, okay? So that, again, we haven't maintained any higher probability. Coming down to the 5-second and our final time frame, what we can then do is have a look here, and again, has it reacted to a fresh OB that's nice and clear? No, it hasn't. Why not? Because we had our 5-second low, our 5-second high, break of structure. Where's the low? The low is here, so again, it doesn't make sense, okay? So all we've done in this scenario is we've used our knowledge of, okay, so we've got the two rules, we have that order flow, however, price has gone past the open, past the 50% of that IM range, so it doesn't make sense. The probability is lower from that base time frame alone. So we're going to work down the time frames and make sense of why it's reacted from there. Okay. In this situation, we can't make sense of it. So what do we have? We simply have a lower probability. Oh, don't know what that was. A lower probability trade. Okay. So this for me is why I chose to leave this. If there was a nice reaction on a 5, 15, or 30 second, there was a clear OB, then yes, I would have continued to watch that trade, look for my POI, and look to trade it. Okay. So let's do the opposite now. So let me get rid of this and this. So in this scenario, what we can see is we have this low, break of structure, this low, break of structure, okay, some sort of mitigation here, okay. Now for the sake of this video, what we're going to do is we're going to then look at that mitigation on the lower time frame and see if there is anything there, okay. So let's go in replay mode. We've drawn our reaction point on, okay. So now we need to see if there's anything there that it's reacted to, okay. So let's go down the time frames. Usually I'll go straight to the 1 minute, just because it's the easiest thing to do. I do want to see a specific reaction. What you can also do is go to the 2, 3, 4, 5 minute, but for this video's sake, we're going to have a look at the lower time frames, okay, because that's generally what you're going to do. So starting on this 1 minute here, have we reacted to an unmitigated OB? No, we haven't, okay. Let's move back down to 30 second. Now have we reacted to an unmitigated OB? No, we haven't, okay. This has already been touched by this move here. Let's go down to the 15 second, scroll over. Have we reacted to an unmitigated OB? No, we haven't. Okay, why haven't we? Because this OB itself has already been touched again by this wick here. So we need to move down again to the 5 second. Let's have a look on the 5 second. Okay, have we reacted to an unmitigated OB? Okay, now, yes, we have. Okay, so what we obviously need to do here is still maintain our OB rules. So you need to follow range by range. So break of structure, retrace, break of structure, retrace, break of structure to the upside, and then your low is going to be here. And then obviously we have this buy here. However, that buy is then body broken to the upside, so we would use this as our OB. Okay, and that's exactly what price has reacted to. So what can we say in this scenario? We have maintained our higher probability because we've had a look on the lower time frames, and we can see exactly why price has reacted where it is. Okay, and this is why sometimes you'll see when I post a chart, it'll almost look a little bit unclear from this perspective, but what I've done is I've moved to lower time frames and I've made sense of why that reaction has happened. Okay, exactly the same as in the PDF, just obviously I wanted to do a video because it seems there is a little bit of confusion around all of this. So I hope that made sense and I hope that was helpful. The only other thing I will cover is the fact that obviously I think I don't get too many questions on this, but it happens occasionally. I do not trade liquidity grabs as mitigations. Okay, so once that IM is created and our successful retrace starts to pull back, we need the OB to be respected. We can't even have a tiny wick to the outside. Okay, we need the price to react within that range. Okay, so we have a high probability, essentially I want to call it like range, I guess, between the open and the 50%, and then after the 50% and the close, we then need to look on the lower time frames. Now, the very final complexity will be if we get something like this, and then we get massive momentum to the downside, that's absolutely fine as well. Okay, it's only when we start to really push up into that upper zone that we need to look at it. And again, I don't know why this is the case. It would obviously be easier if any mitigation was fine, but I just find that probability does massively differ where we get that mitigation between the open and the 50%. That's just how it is, and that's just what I've seen from obviously wins, losses, and all of the data that I gathered. So I think I've covered everything there. I hope that was helpful, and I will see you all in the Discord.